And your brain forms that pattern. So the moment you wake up in the morning and say, I am patterned, I am tired, your brain's like, oh, wait, I know that one. I
Yes.
know that one. I know exactly what to do. Don't worry, I'll take over. And next thing you know, you can't get out of bed and you're wearing your daggy trackies all day long and you're just tired. And you're like, man, I feel like garbage today. Why do I feel like garbage today?
Welcome to Mirror Talk Soulful Conversations. Today, we are honored to have a powerhouse in emotional intelligence, business, and personal transformation. With 25 years of entrepreneurial experience and a background as an NCAA Division 1 athlete, she has dedicated her life to understanding human behavior, why people succeed, why they struggle, and how they can break through limitations. She co-developed a groundbreaking emotional intelligence framework that has been endorsed by the National Association of Social Workers and implemented in rehabilitation programs, transforming a lot of lives. Welcome to the show, Natty. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so happy that you made out the time to be here today. I'm looking so much forward to learning much from you, especially about the tools you've developed, co-developing this groundbreaking emotional intelligence framework that has been endorsed. I really love to, learn so much from you today. And thank you so much for joining us all the way from Utah. Even though you're having a wonderful weather right now, I'm happy that you're still with us.
It's supposed to be sunny, but it's snowing. So we're gonna dive into your world in Germany here with the sunshine.
Yeah. Welcome to the sunshine side.
That's that's right.
So, I mean, just for us to get to know you a little bit better, you agreed to play our game of wild cards.
Yes.
So, as I'm speaking right now, I'm shuffling through the first stack of cards, and I'm going to pick a card that's random, and I get to ask you a question from our icebreakers level. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I fear that because none of us can see you shuffling those cards, that you might have picked a doozy out of the pocket. We're gonna go with it. I agreed to play. We're playing.
Yeah, I'm going to shuffle it again right in front of the camera. I was doing it under the table before, just to give it upside
That's
down.
right.
Well, now I'm shuffling it again, and I'm picking a card.
I agreed to play. I'm in on whatever pops up.
All right. Yes, I picked the card again at random. But the question is, who do you love most in life?
My God and my family.
Oh, I love that.
That's an easy one. I love God and I love family, and I've been married to my best friend for 28 years and we have 4 kids, and I love them dearly. They're the best things in my whole world.
So that's the most beautiful thing, right? Be married to your best friend.
Yeah.
That's that's a
Yeah.
gift.
Truly, truly. We met when we were 12. That's how best friend he is. We grew up as neighbors and played together and knew each other super well. So we obviously didn't get married when we were 12, just in case anybody is worried about that, right?
Yeah.
As adults, he started to be more than the kid next door, we'll say, and formed a beautiful relationship and have since been married for 28 years, and we live a beautiful life together. And they are my favorite things.
So much. And as a Christian, I would just love to ask a follow-up question. It's not on the card. What do you love most about God?
I love that he's merciful, and
Mm.
that with him there's grace always. We all try so hard, and we try so hard, don't we? Life gets going and we just try so hard, and there are moments where we will hit breaking points. And at all times with him there is grace. And that is my favorite thing.
Yeah, he's a merciful God.
Hmm.
Yes. So right now, I brought up the second pile of cards already,
Okay.
and I'm ready. Are you ready for the second
I'm
question?
ready. I'm ready.
You're ready. I mean, the first one was a nice one. I love the smooth answer to that. The very soft. I love it so much. I love love, and I love when people are in love. And I would say yes. The second question says, "What is something you would be judged for if people knew?
What would something
You'll be judged for if
I'd
people
be
knew."
judged for if people knew? That's a really good question. Judged for. You know what? I love money. And I love God, and He comes first, and I love my family, and I love money. And people sometimes struggle with that, right? They judge for that. And when I say I love money, I don't mean that I ever put it first. It's never the highest priority in my life. And I believe absolutely in the joy that comes with abundance.
Hmm.
And I believe too many people think that you can either love God or you can love money, but you can't love both because it creates pride. And I actually don't believe money creates pride. I believe we are either prideful or we are not. And money simply heightens our greatest or our worst characteristics. And so as I take emotional intelligence and I become the person I truly want to be, then money can actually accelerate my capacity to be that in a bigger way and to have a more positive influence on the world around me. And I don't love money because I want to buy nice things. I just love money for what I can do with it. And so I think people sometimes, if they know that, they judge because they're like, oh, you're just proud and you only do things for money. And I'm like, no. And I really do like having money. And I love what abundance can bring into people's lives. That might be something. How's that for you?
Yeah, that's something, yes. That could be very, yeah. It could be a topic of arguments in some places, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually love to bring it up sometimes in conversations just to teach the point of emotional intelligence because emotionally intelligent people don't take the surface construct of something and the way it makes me feel and naturally assume it to be true. We recognize that we feel something. We start to gain understanding about why we feel it. And then we start to realize that maybe what is real for me does not have to be true for me right now in today's world. Like a kid who grew up and his parents were like, you're not allowed to have any money. That is like, you're too much pride, might realize, wow, maybe there's truth of the idea that I could love God and love people and also have a love for money that allows me to engage in good things and make good things happen.
Yes, we need money to make good things happen.
You really kind of do. You need some resources, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Are you ready for the last question?
I'm ready. Yeah.
I shuffled the card and I picked it up randomly also.
Okay. I'm holding you to that. Yeah.
So the question says, what is a thought you can never seem to escape? A thought that you can never seem to escape.
Thought I can never seem to escape. This one's a challenging one because this is the work that I actually do. I work very hard to make sure that these don't exist in my life. I can tell you of an old one. How's that? This is not something I struggle with anymore. And I used to struggle a great deal with if I am not busy, I'm not succeeding. That used to be something I struggled with. If I'm not busy, if I'm not working, I'm not succeeding. And I must work harder to have greater levels of success was also something that I used to have a thought that I couldn't, it was a thought I couldn't escape. Yeah, I had to work harder and I had to work longer and I had to be busy or I was not going to succeed.
Wow. Just asking for a friend. How are you able to overcome that thought? Just for a friend, not for me.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So overcoming any thought is a huge portion of this is a recognition that we often associate our thoughts as good and bad or right and wrong. We have a thought and we're like, "Ooh, that I don't like that thought." And so it must be a bad thought. So I don't want to think that thought or whatever we label it as good or bad or right and wrong. And because of that, we then try to ignore it or push it aside. And what we learn is that our brain does not know the difference between good or bad, right or wrong. It's sending information. And if we'll take that thought as a piece of information and actually write it down and say, okay, this is where I'm at. Why do I think that? What am I worried about? At the bottom of this, at the root of this, what are my actual concerns? If you'll write down, here's the thought. If I'm not busy, I'm not succeeding. Why? What am I worried about? And why am I worried about that? And what's at the root of that picture? What's at the root of that thought? And what we'll usually find out is that it's not actually what that thought is at all. It's a deeper root. So, for example, for me, if I'm not busy or I'm not working harder, I won't succeed. Why was I worried about that? Because growing up, I was told over and over and over again that hard workers advance in this life. Hard workers advance in this life. And so now I got to be a hard worker. If I'm not a hard worker, I'm going to disappoint my parents and I'm going to disappoint myself and I'm not going to advance in this life. And if I do that, then where am I and what am I doing? And then it's like, oh man, I don't have the right, then I'm not going to be able to have the kind of life I want to have. And I'm not going to be able to provide for my family. And we're not going to be able to have meaningful experiences. And then where does that leave me? And we start to realize that one thought is creating this really terrifying picture in our mind of what our life is going to turn out to be.
That's very true.
And it's not something that's actually happened. It's just a picture of something we really don't want. And so then we spend time trying to run away from it, where in the reality, if we'll actually acknowledge what the thought is and acknowledge the picture it's creating, we can then go in and say, okay, what's real? What's true for me? What do I actually want? And if we will shift that and intentionally become aware of those concerns and then shift that to what's in my control. If this is not what I want in my life, and I do know what I do want is a meaningful life with rich relationships and a focus on the things that matter most with abundance. That's what I really want. What's in my control? What's in my control to create that when it comes to working? And I had to come to a realization that working needed to look like only a certain number of hours a day, because if it looked like more than that, while I might have success in my workplace, I was failing in my relationships. And if I'm failing in my relationships, I'm not actually building what I want, I'm building miserable success. And so, in order to have meaningful relationships and abundance, work needed to be in a period of time. And if work needs to be in a period of time and it needs to create abundance, what's in my control there? Well, I need to be more efficient. Well, if I need to be more efficient, then what's in control? I can do a better job managing my time on my calendar. Well, if I need to do that, what do I need to do? Oh, I need to block time for family and work. And that's what I'm actually going to do. I'm actionably going to block time. And in those blocks of time, I'm going to create focus. And so now all of a sudden, I now have something actionable. And what you'll find is if you're struggling with any thought that just keeps coming and it won't leave you alone, there's a picture attached to that thought that's unpleasant. Your brain continues to serve that up because that picture right now is it's not safe for you. It doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like it's something you want in your life. So your brain's just sending you signals that said, hey, that's not a safe thing for you. Be aware of that. Be aware of that. Be aware of that. So as soon as I become aware of it and I actually put tangible action towards having what I want and not creating that picture, that thought will go away. And now instead of being acted upon by the thoughts in our head, I'm acting on the life I want to create.
I love what you said about, getting to the root cause of it, like the picture of it.
Mhm.
And the solution and it's so you provided already about blocking out time. Work should be done within this time, X amount of hours in the day, and
Mhm.
you don't have to overwork yourself to be successful. That's something I've been dealing with also personally, if I'm honest. And when I'm not working, I always have the same fear that I'm losing time. Like time is running out. I mean, yeah, running out of time, and you can achieve this and do this and do this and do this within this time frame, and then you get into that kind of stress level entirely, and that could be very, very,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, in
counterproductive.
time and people are the top two variables that people will create the most amount of stress and anxiety in their life around, because they are the two variables you don't control. You don't have control over time. It ticks away whether you want it to or not. And you don't have control of people. They do what they're going to do, whether you like it or not, right? So those
Exactly.
two variables create the vast amount of stress and anxiety for people because we don't have control over them. So again, if we want to mitigate that emotion, if we want to stop the racing thought, we're going to identify what do I really want and what's in my control that I can act on in the direction of what I want. And if we will act on elements in our control, it will naturally calm those emotions down and assuage those thoughts.
I'm so happy I got to ask you these
You said the
questions.
card was to go deep, so I went deep. It was we
Yes, I mean, I'm right deep in my thoughts already looking for ways to improve my life, but I have to keep on with this conversation. Deep in my mind, I'm like, I think I'm done with this conversation already. I have enough tools to improve my life already.
But we like to get it done efficiently. See, that's what I was saying.
Yes, yes, that's very good. But Natty, I would like us also to learn about your own personal life and your journey
Mhm.
so far. Like I was going through your story, and your journey is deeply personal and very powerful. So I'd like you to share some light, share it a little bit, shine some light on it a little bit, and maybe talk also about the turning point that led you to focus on emotional intelligence and transformation.
Yeah. So I had a really beautiful life. I grew up in a good home, and we didn't have a lot, but we had enough, right? And I grew up and I was an athlete. I played Division 1 soccer, and I was always very happy and didn't have a lot of emotions. When I left college soccer and entered into the workplace and started to become a female executive in corporate America, as well as starting my own businesses, I started dealing with a tremendous amount of stress and anxiety. between having a personal life, a relationship, having children, having a career, having aspirations, having goals, having bills, trying to figure out what does the future hold? What do I really want? I feel like I'm living in Groundhog's Day every day and I'm not making any progress. I mean, you guys can relate to this. And with this started to come a tremendous amount of stress and anxiety to the point where I started having debilitating panic attacks. And ironically, I was then hospitalized for just literally, I woke up one morning, I could not use I had no use of my legs. I could not get them to move no matter what I was communicating from my brain to my body. There was no connectivity. And after going through this experience, there was a moment in time where everything turned back on and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop thinking, like, how does your brain work to where when you get so overwhelmed with stress and so much anxiety, why is there so much physiology involved? Why does it feel like we're having a heart attack sometimes? Why does it feel like we can't breathe sometimes? Why does it feel like squirrels just got let loose in my stomach and they're running laps in there? Why do I sweat sometimes? Why does my face get hot sometimes? Why do I get so tense? Why does it hurt right here in my shoulders or my neck when I get so much anxiety? Why so much physiology? And with that, what are we doing about it? And why is the only answer anybody can give me to take a pill? And I started digging in. My background was in sales and marketing. I had studied human behavior, human performance, emotional buying patterns. I'd done a lot of market research. And I took all of the human behavior study and started to apply it with neuroscience and with an understanding of anxiety and how the brain actually works and how it forms patterns and what happens in the brain. It led me to a place where I gained so much understanding and just started to apply super simple tools. And as I applied those, I went from being a person that they said, oh, you're going to need to be medicated for the rest of your life to somewhere where I take zero medication. I do not struggle with anxiety attacks. I haven't had a panic attack in 20 years. I can live a really emotionally healthy life because I applied some super simple tools that started with understanding. And I started realizing so much of my problems came from ignorance. I did not understand what mental health was. I did not understand what emotional intelligence was. I had none. I was really book smart in school and I could go professionally compete with the whole gamut of life. And I could even compete on a soccer field, but I had no emotional intelligence and it was wreaking havoc on my life. And I started to realize how common that was, how common it was for people to study their butt off to go to school and work their butt off to have a great career and do everything in their power. Like the health and wellness is trillions of dollars are spent in that space. And yet, how much time and energy do people actually spend trying to understand how they feel and why they feel it, as opposed to just avoiding it, running from it, and being afraid of it? And it just turned me. I moved all of my energy and efforts into emotional intelligence in the study of, and also piecing together a framework that I wanted to utilize simplicity so that it was doable and actionable. And I also wanted to be science based. I wanted evidence to back it. I wanted theories that were applicable. And we put this in place and have since had the opportunity to work with tens of thousands of people around the world and have just seen life, like their lives just transform right in front of our eyes. And it is so awesome.
Oh yeah, that's so beautiful, and that's why we're speaking with you today, right now. And that's why I'm having this conversation with you because I really believe that we need emotional intelligence in our lives. Before I continue, thank you so much for sharing your story because a lot of people are going through this and they believe they are the only ones going through it. No one else is, you know, having the same pains or the same anxiety that they are experiencing. Which someone like you sharing your story, they are able to feel seen or be able to feel that they are not alone on their journey also.
Yeah.
So for someone out there who does not really understand what emotional intelligence is, like, can you explain it to us and also tell us about your framework? Like, what's it made up of?
Yeah, absolutely. So basis of emotional intelligence for me is understanding. People have a feeling we live in a world where everyone has been taught that there is physical health and there is mental health. The first part of emotional intelligence is an understanding that there is no such thing as physical health and mental health. You are one person. You do not have a mind running around there that is outside of your body. So in order to be emotionally intelligent, the first thing we have to understand is that everything that we think and feel is connected to a physiology. Therefore, physiology can affect everything we think and feel. They have a reverse and inverse relationship. Super important we understand that. The ignorance of that one thing is wreaking havoc on society. People were like, "Oh my gosh, I feel anxious. What do I do?" And there are simple answers, but they're scared of it because the physiology that shows up is scary. I feel like I'm having a heart attack. I can't breathe all of a sudden. Like everything hurts and we're afraid of it. And we've lived in a world where if you have a physical symptom, something's wrong with you.
Mm.
You need a doctor. You need a doctor to fix you because you have a physical symptom. The reality is we're going to have physical symptoms with our emotional wellness. And it's not because you're broken. And it's not because something's wrong with you. And it's not because you need to be fixed. It's because on the path of our physical journey, we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. We are emotional, mental beings having a physical experience. And the physiology we're experiencing is not bad. And you're not broken. And you don't need to be fixed. What you need to do is understand, what in the world am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? And what do I do? Because if we start there, that is emotional intelligence. Understanding, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? And what do I do? Not how do I run from it? Why, not being scared of it, not being ignorant about it, not turning a blind eye to it. That is emotional intelligence. And when we engage in that work, when we engage in an understanding, we can eradicate the fear of it. And when we're not afraid of it, oh my gosh, the power that transforms people's lives when they stop being afraid of those feelings, when they get comfortable being uncomfortable, man, it's transformational. And so we put a framework together to help people in this understanding, starting with a framework of literally understanding the physical dynamics of the brain. And we put it in a really simple framework of understanding what the brain is. And we use the hand as a model to signify this. That came from Dan Siegel, who's a psychologist. He talked about how these fingers can represent our prefrontal cortex, or our wisdom and knowledge base. And what they connect to right here is considered our brainstem, which is how we send messages from the brain to the body. Here's how we're going to show up. What it covers up is the thumb represents the amygdala, which is our body's alarm system and emotional center. And it's our safety alarm. And the hippocampus is what it touches on, which stores pictures and memories. And if we can understand just how the dynamic of this functions, it's game changing. Because what none of us understand is when we have a picture, like you mentioned earlier, like what if you have a thought that you can't stop thinking about? And it creates a pretty scary picture for you. Like maybe one of your listeners is struggling with like, what am I going to do with my life? Like, what am I doing? I wake up every day, I go to the same job, I go through the same routine, and then I wake up tomorrow and I do the same thing and I feel like crap and I'm not making any progress and I don't know what to do. And should I change careers? Should I change partners? Should I buy a gym membership? Like, what the heck do I do? Why do I feel this way? Well, as they sit in that, there's a picture that's starting to form of them being stuck in that forever, or them being miserable forever. Is that safe? Is it safe for us to feel that picture? No. So the
No.
amygdala, which is the body's alarm system, starts to send off a little signal. And we call it, it sends off this little signal saying that picture in your mind right there, that's not super safe for you. If that alarm gets loud enough, it will do something we call flip the lid, where it literally triggers the prefrontal cortex to release from the brainstem. Now, if this is your wisdom and your knowledge and your capacity to be rational and logical, and it is no longer the thing sending instructions to the brainstem on what to do, what is sending instructions? Our autonomic functions, anything we've patterned in our life, and our emotions. And so I want you to think about things you've patterned in your life when you get highly emotional. What is behind emotional eating? It's just a pattern that's been formed when people get heightened emotions. And when this thing flips, we just go do what we've always done. We wake up the next morning and we're like, what the heck did we just do? Why did I do that? So we first start with an understanding of the brain, because if we can actually understand what's happening, then instead of being afraid of it, instead of labeling everything as good and bad and right and wrong, we can actually come in and say, oh, that emotion is not good or bad. It's not the right emotion to have or the wrong emotion to have. It's an emotion. It's information. What is it telling me? What can I understand because of it? And based on that, what can I do? What is it making my body feel? Am I getting a rapid heart rate? Am I struggling to breathe? Was I tapping my legs over the place? Did I get super hot? Interestingly enough, all of those cues are helping us to understand exactly how to help you handle emotions. And if I engage with them, and actually understand where they're coming from, there is a dozen tools that can be used in our toolbox to help us to identify what to do. And from that place, we feel like we're making sound decisions. We're not making emotionally irrational decisions, and we can work through life. And so our framework is based on understanding into actionable, tangible tools that we can do. And so it's not, I guess the point of it, it's not an ethereal framework. It's not talk therapy. We're not just going to talk about it. We're not just going to throw a principle out on the wall and ask you to ponder on it. It's a framework of action. It's a framework that says once we understand this, it literally points to this is what I can do. Because what we know is when we take action and we take controlled action in the direction of what we really want, we can help overcome all of those emotions and start to steer the ship in the direction we want.
One thing that's coming up for me is basically that means for me to be able to do this effectively, I have to understand my body, understand my physiology. If I'm having an headache, I know, okay, this is not because I listen to loud music, but this is because of an emotion or
Yeah.
something that's coming up for me.
Yeah. Every single person has a different physiological signature to stress and anxiety. So for some people, it'll feel like that some people feel it all in their stomach, but even then they won't feel it the same way. Some people, it will feel like literally a churning sensation. And other people, it will feel like a racing sensation. Other people will get totally nauseous. Some people, it'll like cinch up and they'll be like, oh, I have a stomach ache. And yet another person will feel like they've been riding an elevator all day long and their stomach is dropping. And you will talk to people and they'll explain, oh, my stomach just dropped to my toes. You're like, what they're describing is how their body's physical signature is showing up to that stress and that anxiety. Same thing happens in the heart. We will all feel something in the heart. It just shows up differently. For some people, they'll feel like a weight just got put on their chest, like they can't get it off. It feels so heavy. For other people, it'll feel like it's racing out of their chest and they've got to slow it down. It's too fast. Other people, it will feel like the heart rate is really, really exaggerated, like boom, boom, and it's hard. And some people, it'll feel constricted, like I can't breathe. And it'll some almost feel like a heart attack. And for each person, it'll show up a little bit different. Some people get cold and clammy. Some people start sweating. Some people sweat from their forehead. Some get sweaty palms. Other people will sweat from their pits. Like, regardless, everybody has a signature. And when you become aware of yours, there will be so much less fear around what you're experiencing. Because again, we have a natural connectivity of I'm having a physical symptom, therefore something must be wrong with me. And the reality is, guys, you're having a physical symptom, often related to a thought or an emotion. And what it's real, your body's actually not telling you there's something wrong. It's actually giving you information on how to solve it. But because it's so scary, because no one ever taught me that my heart might feel like I'm having a heart attack when I'm getting those emotions, I'm not sitting there paying attention to it and taking it as information and then acting on it. Instead, I'm sitting there being like, holy, somebody call the doctor. I'm having a heart attack. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. It's so scary for people because there's no understanding of where it's coming from. It is just completely paralyzing with fear. And then what can you do about that? Then people start to instantly believe that what I felt is now bad or wrong because it created something that I didn't like. And that was scary. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yes.
So this whole trail here is what we're trying to help educate people on. It's that space of emotional intelligence helps us to say, okay, I'm having a hard time breathing. And I know what to do in that environment to calm that down. I actually am in control, even though it doesn't feel like it. And I can learn a couple super simple techniques to calm that down, to calm thought, and then bring things into control. Like I'm going to give an example. Are you ready to try something with me?
Yes, please.
All right. So if we start and we do our amygdala when it sounds the alarm, it shoves us into autonomic function. And what I mean by that is when we breathe in, we breathe out. When we walk, we tense the muscles that are necessary for movement and none else. So if we try a little exercise where we start with your toes and you curl them up and then flex your quads and then flex your glutes on purpose and then flex your stomach and then flex your shoulders and then squeeze your hands and then breathe in through your nose and then hold it. And then you're going to breathe in again. And now let go of everything all at the same time. Now I want you to just pay attention for a second. What's going on in your head?
I feel this release basically like
Mm-hmm.
a loss of tension.
Yeah, a release of tension. Can you also feel like clarity? Like there's nothing happening, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah. I'm not thinking of anything. It's just clear. Yeah.
Yes, just clear. So it's really interesting. Why does that work? Because we literally just took back control, complete control of our brain. Because in an autonomic function, we can't do anything we just did.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's one of those things where it's like if we understand what's happening and we were to apply a super simple tool like that, and all of a sudden we can breathe again and our thoughts are clear, and we're like, okay, I'm not broken. Something's not wrong with me. And I was having a really intense emotional experience just then. And it brought up some very real physiology. The physical experience you're having is real. The idea that you can't breathe is not in your head. You're not making it up. It's actually real physiology responding to real thoughts. The difference is you're not broken because you're feeling it. You don't need to be fixed because you're feeling it. You need to understand it so that you can engage with it. And that again is the underlying, it's, I would say that's the underlying framework. It's the underlying foundation we try to pour with every person we work with, is that the underlying foundation of emotional intelligence is an understanding that the emotions we feel and the thoughts we have will create something that's very real physically. And that if we understand that, we can engage with it as information instead of being afraid of it. And if we can do that, we can actually have an opportunity to engage other elements of tools of control that help us direct our life instead of feeling like life is just happening to me and I'm just full of anxiety and I can't make decisions because I don't know what to do. We have a tool for each one of those elements that helps people to just dial in, get grounded, and move the ball forward in their own life from a space of control and focused action.
Yes. Focused action. I love that focused action and taking information based actions also. Like
Yeah.
you're informed, you understand it, you get information and you take the action based on that.
Yes, and honoring those emotions, not shoving them aside and thinking if I'm afraid of something, then I should just push through it, right? And if I am emotional about something, I should just suck it up. Like none of that is true. If you're afraid of something, we should actually identify what it is and know it and then work through it. If we're freaking out about something, you shouldn't just suck it up and push through anyways and shove the emotions down and away. There is opportunity for us to understand it and move through it anyways. And it actually allows us to be so much more emotionally stable and just engage in life with emotions where we get the opportunity to feel tremendous joy and not be afraid of the moments that create some pain.
That's about you're bringing up something that I would love to ask about, and that's about, for someone who has been suppressing emotions for years,
Yes.
has gotten used to not even feeling anything at all. And now we're talking about understanding the emotions. That sounds very strange to such a person. So how can we go from numbing our emotions, suppressing our emotions, to having a healthy relationship with it?
Yeah. So we have all of us initially, we've been initially, our bodies are designed to take us into a state of what we call hyper arousal or a state of like fight or flight. Like we want to respond. If something happens in our life, we feel this like burst of emotion to do something. Initially, that's how we all operate. Over time, though, the world that we live in and our individual life experiences teaches us to handle these things differently. And for a lot of people, they were taught, well, running away from this is not going to help me. Fighting it got me into trouble. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to freeze. I'm not going to do anything about it. Or I'm going to fawn, meaning I'm just going to, whatever makes everybody else happy and keeps the peace, I'm just going to do that. And we call freeze and fawn like they masquerade as having control of our emotions because we think, well, I'm not losing my crap right now, so I must be in total control. And the reality is this, that you're still just emotionally just shoving those things down and depressing them, suppressing them. And it just it doesn't leave an opportunity for you to be free to feel other things. And so a lot of that turns into a numbness or something that makes it's hard to get out of bed in the morning. It's hard to face life and think, I'm super excited to wake up and live today. Instead, it's like, and here's another day. I guess I'll wake up because my alarm went off. And when we're in that state, like we have to recognize that that puts us in a state of survival. And in a state of survival, we'll do a lot of things. We'll go to work because we got to have income. We'll eat because we've got to. We'll do a lot of things in a state of survival. But I would ask anyone in that state, Are you thriving? Are you really chasing life? Like, can you look at yourself in the mirror and say, oh, I'm going to bed right now because I can't wait to get up tomorrow because of what I'm creating, because of what I'm building, because of what life looks like for me. When I realized that a big chunk of my life, I was just surviving it. I was going through the motions. I was checking boxes. It came to a point where I was like, what is the point of that? Like, how long does that last? And there was a realization that I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to wake up in the morning excited because there's a new day in front of me and there's something I want to build. I want to wake up in the morning on purpose. I want to wake up in the morning. I want to feel happiness. I want to create joy. I want to engage in work that's fulfilling. I want to live a life that's meaningful. How do I do that? And in order to do that, to thrive, to truly thrive, we got to be able to feel something because that feeling is the root of motivation. A lack of feeling is also a lack of motivation. I want you to think about when you feel numb, when you feel like life's just kind of doing its thing, how motivated are you to go out and really do something different?
You're not motivated.
There's no motivation. You will do what's been patterned. You'll go through the same pattern you've been going through, but you won't do something new. And if you don't do anything different, you'll never get different results. You cannot do everything today the way you did it yesterday and expect tomorrow to be different than yesterday was or today was. If you do the same things, you will get the same results. So what motivates us to do something different? What motivates us to take a slightly different action? Emotions. And if we can't feel anything because we've numbed ourselves out of those emotions, then we are consigning ourselves to a life of surviving, not thriving. If we're willing to feel, if we're willing to be like, okay, that's a little bit scary because I've run from those emotions for a really long time and I'm willing to get some help here. I'm willing to get some coaching. I'm willing to get some understanding here and push through those things. On the other side of that, baby, on the other side of that is the answer to the question, what do I really want? And it's yours to go create. The empowerment that comes when we feel when we feel emotionally free is mind-blowing. It is truly transformational because what happens is you find your natural source of motivation. And it's the difference between waking up in the morning because the alarm went off and me waking up in the morning because I got an appointment with God because I start every day with God and I ain't missing that appointment because I am an unstoppable woman of God and I got work to do. And when the alarm goes off, I don't even have an alarm. I have a notification for an appointment. And my appointment goes off in the morning and I get up. I get to do some meditation, some study, some prayer, and then I take in some electrolytes. I take in the morning sunshine. I do a little workout. I take care of my body. I take care of my mind and my soul. And then I get to get things ready around my home for my family. And oh, baby, like I've started that day on purpose. And by the time I get to work, it's like, bring it. What are we building today? Like, let's go change some lives. And the difference is the excitement, the joy that you'll find in your life in a space of thriving is a totally different thing than checking boxes in survival. And I want everybody to have that experience. I want people to wake up on purpose to create the day they're about to live, not to repeat the day they lived yesterday.
That's true. Yeah, I think we'll have to get out of that phase of checking boxes, just checking boxes, and you know, going to the mode of living the mode of survival and moving into the mode of yes, let's create something, embracing the emotions, and you know, taking control of our lives. So yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And it can be like if anybody's hearing this and they're like, oh my gosh, I want that so bad. And that is totally freaking me out. Good. Because that means you're feeling something. And that means like you're getting uncomfortable. And the reality is that discomfort that you're feeling is what we call you're exiting what's called the window of tolerance, meaning when we've checked boxes and we've become really familiar with the stresses in our life, they no longer challenge us. We're in our window of tolerance. We can tolerate all that stress because it's familiar and it's known. Even when it's unpleasant, it's still known. But the idea that you now understand some emotions, engage in them, and go after something totally new in your life because you really want it, that is unknown and therefore has an uncertain outcome and therefore might feel a little uncomfortable, a little scary. That does not make it wrong and it doesn't make it bad. It just makes it unknown and uncertain. And if we're willing to say, okay, well, unknown and uncertain might be a little uncomfortable, but man, I want that so bad, then we can get comfortable getting uncomfortable and we can go get it. And when people get there, it's so fun. Because we gain understanding and we go. And like we just watch lives like just transform right in front of our eyes because and not because of something we did, just tools we provide, but you do all the work. And so at the end of the experience, you don't feel like, well, I need somebody else to help me know what to do now. It's like, oh no, I know exactly what to do because I've mastered this. Like I have a master degree of myself. And that's what we want everybody to have.
Yes. Study yourself and get a master degree in yourself.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I mean, if you don't have a master's degree or PhD on you, who does?
Nobody. No one guarantees.
And that's a powerful engine sitting right in front of me there, Toby. We got to get to work, right? So you got to have a master's degree on you so that you know how to really move this thing forward. Yeah.
Earlier you talked about, patterns. And I was just thinking about, there's some patterns that we have in our lives that leads us into self-sabotaging.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Are there ways we could break that? I mean, yes, we have to understand them, but are there ways, what can we do to get rid of this self-sabotaging?
Yeah. So most of that comes at the root of something we call identity, but it's an idea that our brain forms a pattern. So I'll use a simple example that everybody can understand. We wake up in the morning and we say, I am tired. And because we claimed that, that's a piece of knowledge, our brain has the job now of seeking evidence to make that true. So we start observing things. We notice in the mirror that our eyes are drooping and we got bags under them and that we're yawning all day long and that we're having a hard time. Like we got to blink extra just to keep it awake. And we feel like we're just sluggish. And we have all these observations that confirm that, in fact, I am tired. Well, how does a tired person act? Well, they're slow. Maybe they're late to things. Maybe they're running a little behind on the day. Maybe they dress differently. Maybe a tired person actually wears a little bit more frumpy clothing that day or puts on it. Maybe they slouch in their seat a little bit. Maybe they work less productively. And then how does a tired person feel? Like when you're really tired, how do you feel? Do you feel tired? You feel unproductive? You feel inefficient? So then what's the picture of yourself that day? As you picture yourself that day as this tired person, lacking sleep, lacking motivation, lacking energy, unproductive, unfulfilled, inefficient, what does your brain now know? Absolutely know is true.
You're tired.
You're tired. And your brain forms that pattern. So the moment you wake up in the morning and say, I am patterned, I am tired, your brain's like, oh, wait, I know that one. I
Yes.
know that one. I know exactly what to do. Don't worry, I'll take over. And next thing you know, you can't get out of bed and you're wearing your daggy trackies all day long and you're just tired. And you're like, man, I feel like garbage today. Why do I feel like garbage today? Because your brain was like, I know this one. I know how to make you feel. I know what emotions to trigger. I got this one. You don't even need to think about it. Let me take over. That's a pattern. And we do this with a lot of things. And I want you to I want you and anybody that's listening right now to think, what are the things we've repeated in our mind over and over again about ourselves? I am what? I'm stupid. I'm behind. I'm not enough. I'm unworthy. I'm not good enough. I'm uneducated. I'm inexperienced. The number of I am statements that we have programmed in over the years, whether we were told over and over again repetitively or whether we have told ourselves over and over again repetitively. I'm too young. I'm not good enough. I'm not experienced enough. Whatever that is, especially in career pursuits, I see this with young people all the time. They want to go to college. They want to pursue a career. They have an entrepreneurial idea. I'm not. And it's always something detrimental. And so if you've thought that enough times and then observation showed up to make that true, which clearly at some point in your life it did, otherwise you'd stop thinking it, then how does that person act? And what patterned behavior have you created? Have you created a pattern of behavior that's incredibly productive and really focused and very action oriented? No, not attached to that, you haven't. And what emotion have you attached to that? And what picture have you attached? And why is it that at the end of that day, you end up just sitting on your couch wondering what in the world just happened to you? So we talk about these as like self-defeating or self-deprecating or self-sabotaging behaviors. The reality is you have no desire to do this to yourself. You have a patterned behavior and your brain is doing its job saying, wait, I know that one. I know how to help you show up right now. And we find ourselves doing things that by the end of the day or the following morning, we're like, what in the world? Why did I just do that again? I don't even want that outcome. And it's not because you lack motivation. It's not because you lack a desire. It's not because you don't know better. It's not because you want to self-sabotage. It's because your brain has created a pattern and you are unaware of that pattern. Therefore, you don't understand that pattern. And therefore, you don't know what to do about that pattern. And if we can become aware, which we can, and if we then understood, which we will, you can know exactly what to do to break that pattern. And in breaking that pattern, now your brain will work with you, not against you, to go accomplish what you want to accomplish. And you won't be having those self-defeating patterns of behavior anymore because we can claim real identity.
Yes, yeah. I mean, as I would say, that's why we need your framework also, because your framework will also help us to, get in touch with ourselves, get to know our identity better, and then start to understand our emotions better.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you look and say, so how am I supposed to do that? I always get that question. They're like, well, Natty, what am I supposed to do then instead? And I'm like, hey, if you wake up in the morning, you can feel tired. An emotion is not the same as who you are. So I can feel tired. I can wake up in the morning and say, whoa, I feel tired, but it's not who I am. I am an energetic and victorious woman of God. That's who I am. So how does an energetic and victorious woman of God get up in the morning and eat breakfast if I feel tired? Well, I have a few extra nutritional elements in my breakfast this morning because I need to support my body because my body feels tired. So I'm going to have a little extra protein this morning and I'm going to take in some electrolytes because that's how an energetic and victorious woman gets this done when I feel tired. And what ends up happening is the actions I take counteract that feeling of tiredness. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And now all of a sudden, I'm energetic and victorious. So then how
Yeah.
does that woman act? Like I show up, I still get to work on time.
Mm, that's
Does
true.
that make sense? And I might yawn during the day. And instead of claiming, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, I might say, wow, I feel tired right now. But how does an energetic and victorious woman of God deal with feeling tired right now? You know what I do? I take a little break. I'm going to take a 15-minute break. I'm going to go for a walk outside. I'm going to take in some sunshine. I'm going to down some water. I'm going to move my body and I'm going to regenerate. I'm going to give myself some energy. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to get it done because that's what I do. I get things done with energy and vibrance. Do you see the difference between just how we see ourselves, what we claim about what we know about who we are can establish intentionally a pattern that allows us to behave differently?
Yes, yes. And from what I've learned from you too, like, when we feel tired in the morning, I'll ask myself, why am I feeling tired also? Oh, did I go to bed too late? That
Right,
means the next night I have to go to bed earlier and say, okay,
right.
yes, yeah. Like I just learned that from you too right now. Like asking or questioning the why, knowing the why behind your emotions. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we just own it and we end up owning it as who we are instead of just a moment in time or an experience we're having or an emotion we're having. We own it. I am depressed. I am anxious. Why are we owning these negative behaviors and negative emotions? You don't walk around people don't walk around saying, I am, they claim these negative things so quickly.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right. And so just recognizing this is another, like I said, the understanding is the underlayer of emotional intelligence because it helps us to say, my feelings and what I feel are different than who I am. So I can
Yeah.
claim something I feel and that does not become who I am. I feel sad, not I am sad. I feel anxious, not I am anxious. Now I have anxiety, like we have a disease. Like it's so interesting how we want to just claim those things and then we just trigger our brain to create patterns and we create our own self-destructing patterns and then we get frustrated because we can't get out of them. But we gave that instruction, so that means we can give a different one.
True. The power is in the tongue and the power is in the wordings also.
Yes. Oh, words matter. Yes, they
Yeah.
do.
What's matter? Wow. Well, that for a listener out there who is feeling stuck, I've learned a lot from you already, but just for someone out there who wants this piece of advice, like for someone who's feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or disconnected from their emotions also,
Yeah.
like what's the most important piece of advice that you leave them with today?
Recognize that you are a spiritual, mental, emotional being having a physical experience. If you feel stuck in your emotions right now, pay attention to what your physical body is telling you. If you feel stuff rolling around in your stomach, get out and go for a walk. Move. If you feel the heavy on your chest, push some weight off your chest. Do some bench press, do some push-ups, do something actively physically engaging with the exact physiology you feel. If you feel your heart racing, stop and intentionally breathe to get it under control. If you feel tension, lean into that. Tense everything and release it on purpose and take some breaths. Like if you feel stuck in emotion, engage very intentionally with your physical body. And that would be my biggest piece of advice, is just always remember, don't be afraid of the physiology. It's a natural response to the emotions. Lean into it, engage with it, and act on it. Don't sit there and be acted upon. That's why we feel stuck. Act with it, physically engage with it, and you'll feel some power return, like some control return. And with that, you can take some next steps.
And it doesn't happen overnight. It happens gradually also. That's one lesson I'm learning too. Like it's a gradual process. Yeah.
Yes.
But lean into it and yes, take control of it. Yeah.
Yep,
Wow.
for
I,
sure.
I've learned so much from you. I mean, for people out there who would like to work with you, connect with you, get to know more about your framework, for example, what's the best way to connect with you and to work with you?
They can DM me on Instagram. It's natty.o.lewis. So you can just, you can DM me on there, or you can go to my website, ascendeq.com. There's information there as well. And those are the two best ways to get a hold of me.
Awesome. I'm going to place the link to your website in the show notes of this episode. So I encourage everyone out there to click on the link, copy the link, reach out to you, or follow you also on Instagram. You have wonderful, words and things that people can make use of already. Thank you so much, Nadia. I appreciate speaking
Yeah.
with you, and I learned so much from this conversation. I can't start to mention all the things I've learned. A lot. It's a lot of tools I'm going to make use of to improve my life. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Hey there, podcast enthusiasts. Are you ready to add a little sparkle to your day? If you're loving the insightful conversations and captivating stories on Mirror Talk Podcast, here's a friendly nudge to hit that subscribe button. By subscribing, you'll never miss out on the empowering messages and thought-provoking discussions we bring to your ears. But wait, there's more. We're all about spreading positivity and inspiration, and you can be a part of it too. How? By sharing the love with your friends and family. Share this episode with your loved ones, and let's create a ripple effect of empowerment and growth together. And hey, if you've been enjoying what you hear, why not take a moment to leave us a glowing 5-star review? Your feedback fuels our passion to keep delivering content that resonates with you. So hit that subscribe button, share the love, and leave us a review. Let's keep the conversation going and spread the Mirror Talk magic far and wide. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, your support means the world to us.